And for more on that, we now welcome in Matt Stevens on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. He is the UCLA radio analyst and former quarterback for the Bruins. Matt, how's it going?
It's going good. Can't wait for the game. It's going to be, I think, an exciting contest.
Yeah, absolutely. Two ranked teams. I don't think that maybe BYU figured being ranked after two games, but here we are, UCLA, a team that a lot of people are excited about. What do you think of the matchup in general here in Week 3?
I think it's two heavyweights, to tell you the truth. And, with a young freshman quarterback in Josh Rosen and being a true freshman, I think there's going to be some problems for him, getting adjusted to the game and the complexities of the defense. And, for, I think, a couple of quarters, I think the two teams are going to battle out in between the 30s.
In between the 30s, yeah. And BYU saw a lot of that and initially had an 84-yard touchdown and then kind of struggled offensively. So you're watching your own true freshman quarterback. But what do you think of BYU's freshman quarterback, Tanner Mangum?
He's efficient. He's a guy that, they say he's a pocket passer, but he can get out of the pocket. He can create plays. Jim Mora compared him to Johnny Manziel, and that's quite a compliment. I mean, Johnny Manziel, he was probably the biggest playmaker in college football for a while. And he's a guy that, at the end of the game, he's going to win it for you. And I think everybody's rallied around him after losing Taysom Hill. It's a tough offense that UCLA knows going into the fourth quarter. The score is close. This guy knows how to pull out the magic.
Matt, has Josh Rosen compared to your expectations so far?
He's an absolute freak. I'll tell you that right now. No. I never thought that I would be calling a true freshman and comparing him to Troy Aikman.
Wow.
And that's exactly who he is. I mean, he has such velocity when he throws the ball. It's hard for DBs to get out of their break and make a play. And he's as accurate as Troy Aikman. And if you remember Troy Aikman, I mean, probably the most accurate passer in the NFL throwing to Michael Irvin. He knows how to shade a throw away from a defender. He knows how to throw it, put a ball low and outside where only his guy will get it. And he's incredibly smart and poised. So I didn't expect this. I knew watching him in spring football and fall that this kid was special. I mean, he was physically gifted, but, watching him play in the last couple of games, wow.
That was the biggest question mark, I think, on UCLA's team since everyone returned on offense, it felt like, including the Pac-12 rusher of the year and, leading rusher in the offensive line and all the receivers. So with Josh Rosen in the mix, do UCLA fans feel like, hey, the playoff is a possibility? I know it's early, but is that a discussion right now?
Oh, UCLA fans thought that, even right after Brett Hundley left. They're pretty fickle, but, now seeing him play, yeah, I mean, obviously, they think this is a good football team. And Josh Rosen doesn't have to be the guy, but he actually is the guy. I mean, he's that good. And it's surprising UCLA fans. And, a lot of people are saying, it's an upgrade at the quarterback position. Now, he's not Brett Hundley where he can make plays with his feet, but he has such a gifted arm that UCLA is a really balanced attack. And UCLA is a running football team, and everybody talks about Josh Rosen, but it's Paul Perkins in the offensive line. UCLA, I mean, the left tackle, Connor McDermott, is 6'8", 320 pounds, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick, and all five guys return. So this is a really good offensive line and a run team.
Matt, you mentioned in the summer that you thought there would be 8 or 9 guys that would be drafted. You just mentioned one. Do you think that that's still the case after watching this team these last 2 games?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, on the other side of the ball, another freak, and I think he's from some planet in our solar system, is Miles Jack. I mean, this guy, he's 6'1", 245. In the first game, he played middle linebacker. He took Eric Kinnick's position and was all over the field making plays. And then, guys got hurt, and UNLV posed a different threat. So he's playing nickelback, guarding slot receivers and running with them stride for stride. And then, not to forget, he comes in and scores a couple touchdowns running the ball. And now he's returning kickoffs. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And, I'm sure the coaches are going, can he kick or throw? It's unbelievable.
Punt, pass, and kick. Yeah, he's the ultimate weapon. 11 career rushing touchdowns for a starting now inside linebacker that was outside linebacker. Miles Jack, check him out tomorrow. He's fun to watch. Okay, this BYU team's had an interesting 2 weeks. Obviously, 2 solid wins. Taysom Hill goes down. The Hail Mary-ish again. Yeah, there's a 16.5-point spread on this one. Matt, what do you think of this spread?
I'm telling all my friends to take the point. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I can't believe it, to tell you the truth. I mean, you look at BYU, and their team, offense, defense, and they stack up. They're big. And you want big guys, playing in the trenches. And then, your Tanner Mangum is a guy that makes plays at the end. Tall receivers on the outside. Defense is very tough under Bronco Mendenhall. I'm just in shock the spread's so big. I think it's going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to the end.
I appreciate the fact that you corrected yourself because no one else is nationally. Tanner Mangum. Magnum is just everywhere, which is fine. It's kind of cool, right? Magnum PI or whatever.
Or a Magnum of champagne or a Magnum of wine.
that in the BYU crowd isn't used as much, but yeah, I feel you.
No, I think it's going to be a close game. Like I said, I think this is a very good BYU team, deservedly in the top 20.
Matt, what's the biggest question about UCLA that you still have?
They lost Ishmael Adams to a disciplinary problem at the beginning of the season, and they're still waiting for him to come back. Randall Goforth was dinged up last year and missed most of the season. He's getting back into the flow of things. It's that safety position I think they need to be a little bit more consistent at. One benefit that UCLA has, they have 2 lockdown corners, and Fabian Moreau and Marcus Rios that are going on to play in the NFL, so that helps them out a lot. But, the safety position, and then once again, you got a freshman quarterback, and so far he's responded just unbelievably.
Since Josh Rosen has looked so impressive, how would you attack him defensively if you were Bronco Mendenhall?
Is he listening right now?
Who knows?
Well, it was funny. The first game against Virginia, John Tenuta, their defensive coordinator, decided, all right, we're going to make the freshman win with his arm. And they put, the safeties up on the line of scrimmage. They were like safety backers. And just left Josh Rosen to throw on one-on-one coverage, and he just sliced and diced them. You can't do that with the young kid. UNLV came out, and they had a lot of different defensive formations. They were bringing corners and safeties off the edge, confusing Josh Rosen and also confusing the other players. So, if I'm, a defensive coordinator, I'm going to make the young guy think and try and figure out where to place the ball and also make him throw into coverage. I'm not going to let him throw one-on-one downfield because he has such a magnificent arm.
Matt, if you were offensive coordinator Robert and I, how would you attack this UCLA defense?
That's tough. I mean, the one loss that the UCLA defense has had is Eddie Vanderdoes. He was a 5-star recruit. They lost him to a torn ACL in the first game. And probably Kenny Clark and Eddie Vanderdoes were the best defensive tackle tandem in the country. Kenny Clark is going on in the NFL. I mean, this guy's 6'3", 315. He demands a double team. So Eli Anku has come in. He played well against UNLV, and he's the guy that has to step it up on that defensive front. You want to run the ball, obviously, and then take your chances. But like I said, when you have lockdown corners like UCLA, you can do a lot of blitzing and take chances up front. I will say that Kenny Young, their middle linebacker, also, he's a depleter. It's a very physical front seven, but, BYU has that offensive line that might be able to get a push.
Matt Stevens, UCLA radio analyst, is on BYU Sports Nation. One matchup I think we'll be watching, and there are lots of interesting ones in this, are the cornerbacks that you mentioned, the lockdown corners of UCLA versus BYU's receivers and those big receivers, who 2 of them didn't really show up, didn't even have a catch against Boise State. A couple other guys had good games. But what do you think of that matchup between the corners and BYU's receivers?
Yeah, it's a height problem. I mean, obviously, the UCLA corners, they're going about 6 foot, 6'1", and Mitch Matthews, he's 6'6" and 6'4", 6'5". It's those fades that go to the outside. And if Tanner Mangum can get that ball, outside, give his guys a chance, I think that's where they're going to BYU's going to make plays downfield. I don't think it's the speed that can beat UCLA in the secondary. Maybe Devon Blackman, but other than that, I think the UCLA corners can run with those wide receivers. But it's going to be those jump balls where BYU seems to win.
Matt, do you think that this is Jim Moore's best team so far?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, in his 4 years, he has not had a team as good as this team, and everybody thought last year's team was.
Okay, it sounds like we lost Matt Stevens, unfortunately, because he was bringing the heat, man.
He was.
Great stuff from him. He was a quarterback in 85 and 86 for UCLA. Actually, I believe beat BYU by 3 in a game. But interesting that he mentions the different matchups and impressions from BYU's UCLA's team. During the summer, he was on the show and said that he thought 8 or 9 draft picks would come out of this UCLA team.
8 or 9, man. That's
across the
impressive.
board. We're talking linebackers, linemen, receivers.
There's almost a guy right at every single level that can essentially go to the next level.
And Matt Stevens rejoins us. Matt, good to have you back. What sticks out about the BYU defense, or some guys that maybe pop out as well?
It's just a defense that it's pretty consistent. They're big. They got a good front seven. Obviously, the safety had a great game last week with 3 interceptions. So, but the corners are going to get tested. I mean, that's what UCLA does. They like to spread the field and find one-on-one matchups to exploit. So it's going to be a test on the corners. Can they guard their guys one-on-one? That's where UCLA likes to find and attack, is those one-on-one matchups.
Matt, when you look at the matchup between BYU and Utah, they've met 10 times, 3-7 all time. I believe you beat BYU in a game, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, way back when. Yeah. We had face masks, but way back when.
Wait, was that the 86 game or 85? When was that?
I played against Robbie Bosco back in 85. Also in a bowl game. Yeah, the Freedom Bowl. I will say that Provo was the loudest stadium I'd ever played in, and it's a great atmosphere.
And next year, UCLA will come to Provo, which is great. Should these two teams play more often?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think Utah being added to the Pac-12 and going to Salt Lake City, playing there. BYU's a great team, and anybody would love to play them. And they're always, physical. They're always good. I mean, they're great athletes. I love the matchup, and I think it should continue.
Matt, let's say that BYU comes away with the win on Saturday, and let's say that they do it in a magical fashion again. So you have 3 weeks in a row where they are barely winning. In some type of a miracle form. Does the nation and fans in college football, do they finally give BYU the praise that they deserve? Or do you think they'd say, well, even though it's a top 10 team that they beat, it still was done by a miracle?
No. I mean, if you win football games, you win football games. And as you go through the course of a season, you're going to have those tight games where you're going to have to win on last-second heroics. I mean, there's not an undefeated team that just skates through a season and is 12-0 and wins every game by 30 points. I mean, there's that game where you go back to, wow, we threw that Hail Mary, we won that one, and we won that one, and then we got on a roll and we got really good. I think the nation really respects BYU. And like I said, they're definitely a top 20 team, and I think they're going to, with their quarterback play right now, I think they're going to continue to improve. And it's going to be interesting because whoever wins this football game is really going to get thrusted more into the limelight as the season goes along.
Absolutely, and I think it's BYU's biggest test of the season. I've been saying that for months. So huge matchup tomorrow night. Good luck on the call, Matt Stevens. We appreciate the time.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.